Welcome to Dodgers Dogs. As part of the Dodgers Daily Network, Casey Porter here. So glad you decided to tune in on a beautiful Tuesday afternoon as we inch closer by one day to the starting of the 2026 Dodgers, hopefully for a back-to-back championship. So the first question I know is on everybody's mind on this Tuesday. We're going to get into the hard conversation. Roki Sasaki, no doubt about that. We're going to get into that conversation. It's a tough one. I think it's a little bit less black and white than maybe Dodgers fans want to make it. So I've got a lot of opinions on that I really – I don't want this to sound any which different way, but I really don't think I think I've got a pretty good bead on the Roki Sasaki situation being around the organization. Now, I don't have any information to pass on, but just being around the organization and having a feel for how they do things – there's some things that, the culture aspects of the way things are done. I think I have a pretty good feel of this situation, and so I'm excited to kind of give my opinion on what I think is going on with Roki Sasaki, because I think I have a unique perspective to where I get to see the way that players are treated every single day in this organization, some of the reasons why players love being in this organization, why free agents love being here. And so we'll get into that here in a minute. Ronan Kopp looked great again. Ben Kasparius got back on the mound. Got to see Timmy Trumpets for the first time with Edwin Diaz. Jack Dreyer, the Maytag, looked fantastic. And I'll tell you another thing. We'll get into him here in a minute. I love the spring training that Teo Hernandez has had. Matter of fact, let's just get into that first. I think full stop Dreyer is our third best reliever behind Diaz and Vesia. I don't disagree with you, Showtime, not whatsoever. Jack Dreyer, again, has just been money in spring training. He was money last year. He was money all the way through the system. Jack Dreyer is just a fantastic pitcher, no doubt about it. He has done everything that he can at every single turn to do whatever is asked of him and to perform, and he has absolutely done that. Mike Lopez, thank you so much for joining. A little concerned with the bullpen. I can't lie. Klein, Scott, and Trinan worry me. I don't know how you couldn't be worried about the bullpen. There is no way that even the most optimistic and positive human being, like I try to be, optimism is not being soft. Being positive is not being soft, not whatsoever. And on the vice versa, just being negative and certainly being pessimistic is not in any way, shape, or form being tough. And in fact, in my opinion, in my experiences, the more negative you allow yourself to be, the more pessimistic that you view things with. It's easy to be pessimistic. It's easy to be negative. That's the easy route out. So to me, negativity and pessimism, that to me is what a soft mindset is. A tough mindset is one to say, okay, pick yourself up by the bootstraps and let's get this thing figured out. Let's put some positive thoughts in our head and let's find solutions instead of complaining about all of the problems. To me, that's what mental toughness is. So to me, positivity is anything but being soft. It's the exact opposite. I'm going on a tangent here to say the most optimistic and the most positive thinker out there, I don't know how right now you couldn't be worried about the bullpen. I mean, other than Edwin Diaz, right? Okay, I mean, how can you not be worried about Blake Trinan? How can you not be worried about Tanner Scott? How can you just totally just up and say, hey, Will Klein has been this guy that's kind of bounced around and has always had potential, and he's been that guy we've always thought could be good. Then he has this miraculous World Series outing, a pretty good spring training. All of that's good. All of that's great. But how in the world am I going to sit here and tell you in a podcast, I can guarantee you this guy is going to be a great reliever consistently in the bullpen for the Dodgers? How can you guarantee somebody that Blake Trinan isn't just done because of father time or whatever it may be? So how can you guarantee that Tanner Scott is going to make his way back? You can't. And with the bullpen to begin with, any kind of bullpen action, there's never guarantees. It's always been the most volatile position on the baseball field. So there's no guarantees to begin with. Then when you kind of throw all of those equations into it, there's no way even, like I said, the most optimistic and positive human being on earth can be totally not concerned, if you will. So I think that's a valid point. I don't think it's being negative. I don't think it's being pessimistic to take that on. I think that's also another reason why a guy like Roki Sasaki would really help if he went to the bullpen, because that's actually a role that we've seen him excel in. So I think that is a great point as far as the bullpen goes. But back to Teo Hernandez, I just think he's in line for a great year. Now, part of it is I think the lineup around him is great. I think the move to left field is going to benefit him. And I am a believer, being in the game for as long as I have, that the offense and defense aspects of it, for most players, almost all players, not all players, but almost all players, I think the defensive and offensive aspects work together. I think when you're not comfortable defensively, i.e. Mookie Betts, I think it affects your offense. I think it does for almost every single player. It is very difficult. Now, there are the pros of the pros, but when you're just not going well offensively, it is hard not to take that out onto the field. You get better at it, you learn better at it as you go on, and you realize that baseball is every day. It's 6 months. You got to stay even keel, all those kinds of things. But it's very hard not to allow the offense and defense to marry each other and for one to affect the other. I'm a believer in that. So I think that Teo Hernandez being in left field is going to not just be a benefit to the Dodgers defensively, because I think he'll be a better left fielder than he would be, or whatever it may be, okay? Then I think that the defense, that him being comfortable defensively, is going to make him a better offensive player. Then you lose the weight, which that just kind of goes to show the dedication he put into making himself better. You know, there's a saying in sports that you never say the same. You either get better or you get worse, right? And so Teo Hernandez made himself better in the offseason. As good as he's been, he dedicated himself to making himself better. You have a great lineup around him. You're going to have comfortableness, a comfortability, if that's a word, defensively, that I think is going to allow him to stay in a very confident mindset, if you will. And I think that is going to affect offensively in a positive way his offensive game as well. So I think Teo Hernandez is in for a big year. You know, the 265, 270, the good OPSs. At least I think we're going to get the good version of Teo this year. So super excited about him. I was excited to see Dalton Rushing get a nice hit last night around the 214 mark. I'm going to put this point blank. It hasn't been an overly impressive spring training for Dalton Rushing. He's gotten a lot of run. The throwing game, he's way better at than he's shown. He threw some balls early in spring training that were good. Kind of had some mishaps in the middle. And the offense has been a little bit more sporadic than I think he's capable of doing. Better than last year, no doubt about it, but I still think there's quite a bit better version of a Dalton Rushing out there. The starting rotation, though, is it's shaping up, although with no Blake Snell and the Roki Sasaki thing, that's kind of an interesting conversation. You have to earn a spot on the team. What are we doing? Okay, so I'm going to get into that conversation right now. So you guys know, and gals out there, that follow Dodgers Dawgs as part of the Dodgers Daily Network, you know that I believe in what's called the meritocracy, the merit system, okay? Meaning if you earn it, you get it. It is like the reason why I just don't at all subscribe to top prospects list, because once you get on that, fans, you find, I mean, all anybody wanted to talk about was Josue De Paula and Zaire Hope, which rightfully so, great players. But then again, here you have James Tibbs III and Zach Earhart, who actually got most of the playing time. And thank God the Dodgers didn't just say, hey, well, let's just play our top prospects the most and forget everybody else, right? So, hey, I believe in the merit system 100%. So just looking at this on the hoof, let me see if I can explain this properly. And I can see it both ways. I'm going to put that right there on the top. I usually don't ride the fence. I'm not riding the fence on this one. What I'm doing with this decision is I'm trusting the organization the same way I did with the Alex Freeland, Hyesung Kim situation. So here you have Roki Sasaki that comes to the United States 2 years earlier than his posting time, than he could have. So because of that, he has to sign a minor league contract. And he chooses the Dodgers because he believes the Dodgers are the organization that will develop him the best. He believes they have the best developmental system. That's why he came to the Dodgers. In turn, so he took less money to come to the Dodgers to sign a minor league contract because he wanted to be at the Dodgers. The Padres, other teams were offering him more money in terms of signing bonuses, that kind of thing. But he chose the Dodgers. And part of that reason is that the Dodgers offered Roki Sasaki, I will say, I'll go so far as to say guaranteed Roki Sasaki, a starting spot in the starting rotation with the organization, okay? And here's the deal here. This is where you have to peel back the onion, okay? Where the meritocracy part of things, the merit system part of things becomes very difficult, okay? A large part of what has built this dynasty for the Dodgers has been the free agency market. 1,000%. Shohei Ohtani, Yoshinobu Yamamoto, Tyler Glasnow, Blake Snell, Teo Hernandez, you name it. You can go up and down the line. And the free agency market has been a huge part of this dynasty. As much as I want to sit here and say, hey, the Dodgers build, and they do, okay, a large part of this dynasty has been bought. We just can't underestimate that part of it. And one of the biggest reasons why the Dodgers organization has become the destination for free agents is because the Dodgers make good on their promises. They make a promise to a guy like a Blake Snell or a Tyler Glasnow or a Yoshinobu Yamamoto or a Shohei Ohtani. Like, for instance, they promised Shohei Ohtani that they would do everything they could to build the best roster they could around him to win the most amount of championships. Promise kept, correct? So part of the reason why the free agents want to come to the Dodgers is because the Dodgers keep their promises, okay? And then another large reason why the Dodgers are a destination for free agents, and another reason why they've won the amount of world championships they have, and they are going to continue probably, or at least favored to win more, is the culture they have created. So it's not black and white with Roki Sasaki. And part of that culture is you have captured the Asian market. So what's happened with the Dodgers is they've went and got Shohei Ohtani. They've went and got Yoshinobu Yamamoto. So now they're swimming in championships, okay? They're swimming in championships, and they're swimming in money, okay? Which means they're going to continue to be in a position to win championships. And a large part of swimming in money and winning the championships, both sides of those, is the Asian market, okay? So if you, either send Roki Sasaki to AAA Oklahoma City, or B, change his role, okay, you are going to have to go back on the promises that you made with Roki Sasaki. You are squarely going to jeopardize two of the largest factors that have helped win the two world championships and create the Ohtani economy that's given the Dodgers basically an unlimited budget, okay? So to do that, you would have to go back on your promises and put those two key aspects of this dynasty in jeopardy, okay? All for a sixth starter, for a guy that if he just pitches well or decent in half of his starts, you're going to win 110 games. All for a sixth starter that even if he doesn't pitch well, you're still probably going to win over 100 games. This is the largest, in my opinion, gap between the Dodgers and anybody else in the NL West that there has been in this dynasty. And the Dodgers have still won two world championships. So The question becomes, is it worth jeopardizing the Asian market and all the work that you put into that and losing the momentum that you have gained that has allowed you to just make money hand over fist? And then is it worth it to say in the future, well, the Dodgers made this promise, they haven't upheld that, so when you go look to get guys in the future, it's like when I was the head coach and a coach would call me about one of my players, I would have to give them the honest to goodness truth. Even if it killed me to say, hey, I don't think you should take this guy. He doesn't do this, he doesn't do that. And the reason why I had to do that was if I lied about a player and I just kind of made this player look better than they actually were, or I didn't give this coach the heads up on all of the aspects of this player, then this player goes to an organization somewhere on my word, and my word turns out not to be true. Well, then what happens with all my guys down the line that are trying to get recruited? And I have a reputation of being a coach that's not honest, okay? So by going back on your word, you are jeopardizing the reputation that the Dodgers have worked so hard to build, that we are an organization that when we make you a promise, we deliver, okay? They're jeopardizing losing the Asian market, which has made them swim in money, okay? All for a six-starter that's on the margins, that might be the difference in 3 or 4 wins over a length of the season, of which you're going to be favored to win your division by double digits. Okay? That's the rock and the hard place the Dodgers are in. And then you compare that to Kyle Hurt being sent to AAA Oklahoma City, River Ryan being sent to AAA Oklahoma City, and guys that have actually earned opening day spots. So you have all of this over here versus all the merit system over there. And when you put it together, there's just not a good answer to it. There's just not. And so the way that I'm looking at this is the Dodgers understand all of the situation, the encompassing aspects of the entirety of it. They get it, okay? And I can tell you for a fact, one of the things that the Dodgers are very, very, very elite at, not good, elite, is communication. They will be in communication at all times with Roki Sasaki, what his side of this thing wants, where he's at, where his head's at. They will match it with where the organization's at, and they will massage this situation to figure out the best conclusion. I'm going to say this again. This was the River Ryan conversation we had the other day. Making the opening day roster is a big deal, okay? It is a big deal. So you put him on the opening day roster. He has minor league options. You see how he does. You can always send him down later. And at that point, you haven't backed out on your word. You gave him a shot. You gave him the best shot. If he can't deal with at that point in games the fact that you can't afford to throw a guy out there that's taxing the bullpen too much, not doing their job even as a sixth starter, at that point, the Asian market would have to totally understand that. Roki Sasaki himself would have to totally understand that. And you get out of this entire situation completely clean. So you have two options here. Either Sasaki figures it out and he pitches well to justify being in that sixth spot, or as the season goes on, you put a timeline on the leash, you figure it out as it goes on, and when you have to pull that trigger, you do. And at that point, you are off the hook in terms of jeopardizing either the aspects of the Asian market or the fact of going back on your word. So that's where we're at. That's the situation the Dodgers are massaging here. I've been in that position before as a watching the recruiting process so like when you go try to recruit the greatest player and you're in Oklahoma State, for instance. Now this is a little bit different because it's the Dodgers and they are a have and not a have not. But when you're trying to go get that 4 or 5 star, you make promises. Hey, heck yeah, you're going to play right away. Heck yeah, you're going to do this. Well, then they get to camp and they're not playing well. Now what? You've made all that. That's the kind of situation you're in. That's the rock and the hard place that the Dodgers are in. And so I understand it. I'm good with allowing, kind of the space in terms of my brain power just to say, hey, it's a tough situation. The Dodgers are great at massaging these situations, and let's kind of let them play it out and see what they have in terms of solutions. Hey, Mike Lopez says, what are the message we are sending to young players that perform well in spring training, that no matter how good you perform, you won't make the team? And yes, that is an absolute, that's the other side of the rock and the hard place. And what I would tell them is this is just kind of a tough deal. I mean, it just keep grinding. There is no real good conversation to have with them. They would understand, they're not going to like it, but they're going to understand that you got drafted, okay? And so by you getting drafted, then there are certain amounts of rules that you have to abide by. Every player has the chance to turn down a draft and become an undrafted free agent. You know how many players do that? Nobody's going to turn down being drafted and instead choose to be an undrafted and choose to be a free agent, an undrafted free agent, right? So what you tell that person is, you got drafted. We had to make a sales pitch to this young man because he was a free agent. And there is a huge difference there. So are there different rules maybe for the free agents that you go and sign? Absolutely. Versus the guys that get drafted. That is a world that minor league players live in every single day. And is it fair? No. Is life fair? No. Is minor league baseball fair? Not always. Okay. But that's just the situation you're in. And you have two choices. You can either bellyache and whine about it and want to make excuses and blame the organization or whatever and not take advantage of your opportunities. Or you can realize sometimes this is the situation we're in. It's not always totally fair. Keep grinding and do what Ben Kasparius has done. Just continue to get yourself up off the mat. Continue to control what you can control. That's another aspect of this that these players and every organization is really preached to, and that is just control what you can control. Beyond that, there's nothing really that you can do to make anything better or worse. Just control what you can control. So, hey, we have Chuck in the house. Chuck, what's up, man?
Not too much. How you doing today?
Fantastic, brother. Fantastic.
I had a question for you. And one thing I've been thinking about, it seems like Roki, his major, his fastball control seems to be the biggest issue.
Yes.
And, I was thinking about he loads the forkball every time. Mm-hmm. And I'm not so sure if that's not an issue because he's got to change to the fastball. I know you got to lose some sensitivity in your fingers. You might even kind of deaden the nerves a little bit. I'm kind of wondering if he shouldn't. I know he's done it forever, but it's his fastball. It's a problem. I'm wondering if when he reloads, if, he doesn't have the feel he needs to have to throw the fastball, because he's all over the place for the fastball. His other pitches seem to be closer to the strike zone.
Yeah, that's a great point. And, a lot of guys, they load. So what a lot of guys do, Chuck, is that they load the hardest pitch that they have to throw in terms of feel. They load with that pitch. And the reason why they load with that pitch, because it's such a feel-heavy pitch that if you put the grip in your hand every pitch, it helps you with that feel. So to back up and to say, why do they do that? That would be the reasoning. For most people, it's the changeup. So they'll take the glove with a circle change grip or spike curveball grip or whatever, and they'll at least get to feel the grip every time they throw a ball. So that would be, in my opinion, why Roki Sasaki does it. So you're saying go ahead and change to the fastball grip, change to whatever four-seam, two-seam grip you do, then you're feeling your fastball every time. And I wouldn't disagree with that. That goes to the point, Chuck. I think this is a great conversation to have. Most times, especially in baseball and especially in professional baseball where the margins are so slim, it's not about overall wholesale changes. It's about minor tweaks. So I think that would probably be a pretty good tweak so he can feel the four seams, he can feel the two seams, whatever it may be, and just get a better feel for that pitch. I'll say this, though, and I'll let you comment on that. I think part of his fastball control issues is that he doesn't have a secondary right now that he can rely on, that he trusts, and that and that he, in the back of his mind, he thinks, well, I've got this in my bag, so I can just let my fastball rip. I think he's feeling like he's having to be perfect with his fastball because he doesn't trust his secondaries. And anytime you try to be perfect, then you try to place the ball, and that's when your execution actually isn't good.
Yeah, and the thing is, he did make that change. It would come with a cost because the forkball is such a devastating pitch that it may not be as effective if he doesn't load it. So I'm not sure and then I think the other part to it is, I think some of the problems above the shoulders, and not in a bad way. He just thinking way too much about, instead of just letting it fly and pitching. I just think he's got so much pressure on him. You can just see it. You see it in his face. We have these high definition TVs. You can see in his face when he starts stressing. I know I can. Here's a problem now.
Yeah, 100%. I totally agree. But the funny part about that is, the biggest stage he's been on with the Dodgers is when he performed the best. I mean, that part of the equation doesn't make any sense. That would be the World Series last year.
Well, you know why, though, is because he had immediate success with the pitches right away.
Yeah.
If he had got in a hole there, he did get in a hole a couple of times, and he pitched out of it because his devastating forkball saved him. Because it just happened to hit, and he was and his mechanics were pretty well straightened out by then. He spent a lot of time, remember, most of the season working on mechanics. So, yeah, I get it, and it's kind of a mixed bag. So it's hard to put your thumb on it. That's why everybody, including all those that know how to handle this, are struggling with it, because it's like mercury. It's moving all over the place.
Yeah. So when you see a situation like this, and it doesn't get resolved, let's take the Tanner Scott issue, let's take the Michael Conforto issue, and it just keeps lingering and it never gets fixed. That's because the Dodgers don't have an answer. I mean, it's that simple. It really is that simple.
Yeah, and they're not perfect,
Right. They don't know what to do. That's what that tells you. If they keep doing something over and over and over and it keeps not working, that tells you they don't know what to do.
Yeah. And one more thing, like when we're getting the beginning of the season, kind of shift gears here, that I wanted to say was for us fans and everyone, it is going to be so freaking hard to win another world championship. We're better positioned than most teams are, but let's not kill them if they don't win it. Because, one bad hop, we saw what happened last year. We were on the verge of losing. We've got a great chance.
Multiple times.
The thing is, they put us in position to win it all.
Yes.
But that doesn't mean we're going to, and just not look at it like a failure. I mean, how many years was it before this run? I mean, there's teams out there that haven't won in 50 years. I mean, we need to be careful about, I'll tell you what. You remember Coach John Wooden? You remember him, right?
Oh, yeah.
They had won like 10 championships right in 11 years. The one year he lost, and he retired right after this, by the way. A fan came up to him. He said, "Hey, Coach, you sure let us down this year, but we'll get him next year." And Coach Wooden thought enough of that comment to actually mention it, and he retired, I think, in 75 the following year. I'm not so sure. Some of these things you say to these guys, I mean, they're not insulated from it. I think
fans, they internalize it.
I think us fans overall need to be careful. If things aren't successful this year, we could bounce back next year in 27 and win it all. But we want to be careful how much crap we give them if we don't win it all. Because this could, you know what? Look at the odds. I mean, it isn't 1-1.
Right. Yeah. I mean, no matter how good you are, no matter how much the favorite you are in this game, especially in baseball, you still have to have things go your way. I mean, we have to admit that as much as we enjoy last year's World Championship, things went the Dodgers' way. It does, like you're saying, that doesn't always happen. I will say this, though, that every single player, Dave Roberts, Andrew Friedman, their mindset is, this is one thing I love about this front office. This is one thing I really love about Dave Roberts. Most managers and especially GMs will play the PR game, and they'll say what we're saying here. Well, it's hard. Well, you got to get the bounces. Well, even if you have the best, there's so many this and that. The Dodgers will point blank come out and say, we're either going to win the World Series or this season is not a success. Dave Roberts will say that. Andrew Friedman will say that. The players will say that, especially the veterans. That's one thing I really love about this organization is that they don't hide behind it. They just say, hey, we're the best. We have the best roster. We have the best organization. We expect to win. That's one thing I've really come to appreciate about this generation of Dodgers.
No, I agree. And that's absolutely the way they should do it. And they do it. They put us in position to win it. I'm just saying throughout the year, because, we can get and a lot of fans are new fans too. Because, when the team wins, you get a lot of new fans. They get excited about it, but they don't understand the nuances of baseball. They don't understand. I mean, you see it when a new person comes on your channel. I mean, they make a comment and you go, oh my gosh, okay, well, I want to be nice. Yeah. But that's kind of, and so I'm just thinking maybe in some ways that we can just, as the year goes along, we might want to remind them, well, this ain't a given because we've got all this talent. We're going to win it. I mean, look at just the pitching in the last two games. I mean, the stuff we thought that was airtight, they were going to just go smoke people. There, you see some flaws in it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, and the thing about baseball, too, is like we think the Dodgers are the worst team ever hitting with runners in scoring position. Well, they actually were the best, right? We think the Dodgers were the worst with hitting with two outs. Well, they actually were the best. And every fan base thinks the same things in baseball because it's such a hard. They think their manager's stupid because bullpen decisions don't work. Every fan base thinks this. They think their players can't hit with runners in scoring position. They think they can't hit with two out. And the reason why that is because baseball is set up in a way to where you're going to fail 70% of the time offensively. And so if you follow a team every day and don't follow anybody else, you see your team fail 70% of the time, so you just automatically think they're terrible at this, when actually they're better than everybody else because 30% in parts of this sport is very, very good.
Yeah, and I don't know if you agree with this, but, in game management, I mean, you get second-guessed about everything. And once you've made a decision, Walt Alston, they said, never made a bad decision because by the time he got around to making one, it was too late. So, I mean, you can do that. You got to make decisions. I think that Dave Roberts has become a much better manager the last 2 years. I am not as critical of him now as I was 2 years ago. And he was a manager for a while 2 years ago, but he's actually paying attention and listening. I see him think more when he gives answers to questions. He's trying to be the best manager he can, and he's not perfect. He's going to make mistakes. Everybody does.
I think he's more open about his decisions, too. I think he's less guarded. It's not like he doesn't feel like he's being attacked. He feels like he can explain why he did something, even when it doesn't work, a lot more now. That's called being comfortable in your skin.
That's another. It makes me think of something. You saying that. This is about one of the few organizations that's actually as open as they don't tell you everything. Don't get me wrong. But Friedman and these guys, they try to be as honest and upfront as they can without sharing stuff they shouldn't be sharing.
Totally agree. So what are you most excited about with opening day coming up here in a couple of days?
Well, it's kind of fun watching the pomp and circumstance of opening day. That's, the excitement. That's a lot of it. I'm looking forward the first time Diaz comes in a clutch situation and they play Tommy Trumpet. I didn't like that so much last night. I think they could have held off on that, but I want to see how Tucker fits into the lineup. I want to see if he's going to platoon Muncy like some people think. I'm not so. Espinal's kind of come back a little bit. He hasn't been hitting the ball like he was because he's not facing the same pitching he was pitching. I mean, that makes a big difference. People, and when they're trying to fix things during spring training and they're tinkering with this and that, compared to like a major league game when every single pitch that pitcher is trying to get you out on every single pitch. It's so different. I mean, I think spring training stats are more important to young players because they're trying to break in.
100%.
And so it's important for them. But
Kyle Tucker got one hit all of last spring training? One.
Yeah. And the veterans you don't worry about because they're going to come back to normal unless they just have a bad year. But it is important to young people because Bill Russell, at 20 years old, he hit his way onto the team back when I was a kid. I remember he hit so well. He made them put him on the team. Yeah. But, I'm just excited to see. I want to see the pitching. We do have to I want to see what they do with River. I mean, we've got some guys down there that it's going to be interesting to see how it all plays out. Injuries are always a big part. I think there's a big issue coming soon when Edman gets well. there's two, it's like musical chairs. Who's going to go where? That's going to be interesting.
So what do you think about the Alex Freeland situation? I explained myself yesterday.
Yeah, and thanks for the props. That was nice. You're too kind. I think the Dodgers are taking a breath. They want to look. They're taking a look-see because they have it right now. They're getting a free look, and they want to see.
See, you're able to see the big picture here. I love this. This is awesome.
And I agree 100% about Kim. Kim could be a Gold Glove center fielder. I've seen enough of him in center field. The little thing. This guy can flat fly, and he's got instincts. Even when he makes a mistake, he turns back and he goes to the right spot to catch the ball. He could, but we have Pajas there, so I'm not advocating that. But I think he should be our super reserve, and I think with our team aging like it is, there'll be plenty of playing time. I think he can play 4 to 5 games a week. Just you got to give Muncy a break. You got to give Mookie a break. You got to give Edmund a break. You got to give the outfield. He could play all 3 spots in the outfield. There's no doubt in my mind. If you give him enough time to learn it, he could be super. I'm really. This is kind of. It's not a crossroads, but I'm concerned about him. I think he'll have a good attitude, go down and work, get ready, and come back. But I think I don't think there's an everyday spot for him. You don't put your best athlete at second base either.
Yeah, that was one of my biggest points yesterday. Is you don't take your best athlete and just pin him there. Second base, you don't need an incredibly great athlete. You don't need an incredibly great arm, all that kind of thing, right?
Hey, if we didn't have the restriction on the ship, Muncy might be playing second base.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah.
But
Chuck, appreciate you, brother. Anything else you wanted to add here?
No, that's it.
Hey, thank you, man. Thank you very much. Hey, I wanted to get into my Ronan Kopp talk here. Ronan Kopp threw again last night. Ronan Kopp, who you're seeing on the screen here, 6'7" young man out of California. 2 prospects last night threw for the Dodgers that are both from California, another part of the culture process, the piece that the Dodgers don't miss. Chris Campos, we'll get into him here in a minute. Ronan Kopp is a young man that is on the 40-man roster. He is a guy that I think because he's on the 40-man, they protected him from the Rule 5. He is going to make his Major League debut this year. How about that slider? The fastball was good. It sat almost 95 miles an hour. Sat, not hit. And then he threw more sliders than anything else, that one there. And I can tell you his slider, I've sat behind it many different times. It changes shapes, and his slider is not a good pitch. It is a really, really good pitch. So, hey, one of the funnest parts of last night, I know everybody wants to see the Timmy Trumpets and Edwin Diaz and all of the stars. I enjoyed getting to see Ronan Kopp. I just thought it was super fun to see his slider in action last night. Definitely put him at the front of your Rolodex because I think you're going to see Ronan Kopp this year at Dodger Stadium, and I think he's going to make his Major League debut in 2026 this season. So another guy that made an outing last night that was super cool, Chris Campos, this young man. Hey, he grew up in Southern California, went to Mater Dei. Then he changed high schools. He's been told his entire life he's too small. He was told he was too small even to be a Division I player. Not only was Chris Campos a Division I player, you can see right there, he was a Division I starting shortstop and pitcher. So he was a Division I two-way player. So then he's the shortstop at St. Mary's. Then he gets drafted by the Dodgers, being a Southern California boy. He just continues to get better. The 2-seam, the 4-seam, the cutter, the slider, the competitive aspect of it, the confidence, the way that he believes in his stuff to the point to where he challenges hitters in the zone. He knows that his stuff can get even major league hitters out in the zone. And also Chris Campos, being a Southern California boy, grew up a huge Dodgers fan, the same as Zach Root, okay? That's why you got to see Zach Root the other day, okay? Not the reason, but a huge Dodgers fan. And I'm going to tell you again, the culture piece, the Dodgers don't miss on that kind of stuff. Yes, Chris Campos has earned every pitch he got to throw on the Dodger Stadium mound last night, but also his family being huge Dodgers fans and them being from Southern California, what an experience that was for them to get to see Chris on the mound. What is an experience it was for him to get to be on the mound. And I promise you that went into the equation as well. So congratulations to Chris Campos. Absolutely, what an amazing experience that was last night. And yeah, he walked a guy and he threw one kind of high to the screen, but he did not give up any runs, and he showed very, very well for himself. So, hey, that's going to do it for me today. That's all I got for you. A little bit shorter of a show until we get into the season where we have a true down the farm and, our whatever length amount of time it will be on our game. So that's going to do it for me. I want to thank you for tuning in, all of you wonderful Dodgers dogs out there. And as always, never forget, it's a great day to be a Dodger.